This is Zippy Duvall at Farmside Chat, and I'm glad to be back with you today. And we got a special guest to talk about something that I enjoy, and that's working with young people and trying to find who the new leaders of agriculture will be in our near future. And I have Mark Stewart with me today. He's President and CEO of Agriculture Future of America. Agriculture Future of America. We reference it as AFA. And Mark, thank you for being with us today and welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
It's always fun to talk about young people and trying to find what stirs uh, their nature up to want to be part of agriculture. So before we talk about the other young people, tell us a little bit about your journey that brought you to AFA and a little bit about your background.
Yeah, gladly. So I actually ended up here by accident. We talk to young people today at AFA about your network as a personal asset. So as valuable to you as anything you own, land or equipment or financial investments, people, your network can be really valuable to you. And that's candidly how I ended up at AFA. I'm like a lot of young people today. I'm a generation removed. So I'm the youngest in my family. My parents sold the farm before I really remember it, and I grew up in a city, Springfield, Missouri. Went to college, didn't really know what I was doing. I was an athlete in college, but got started in higher education, fundraising, worked in some nonprofit settings and in fundraising and communication roles, and was helping my church raise money and retire in debt and some other things. And a lady on that committee knew Russ Weathers, who was the founding executive of AFA, and said, "Hey, he's looking for somebody. I think you ought to connect." And I said, "Well, yeah, I'd love to love to connect." And so he and I had lunch, and a week later, I got the job at AFA. And what's interesting about it, I always thought I'd end up back in higher education. I loved being around college students. I did work for some social service organizations and saw like the real impact of the mission, in action. And AFA is really a kind of a hybrid, a blend of those two environments. So we're really close to the action and the mission that we get to live out every day. And we get to work with amazing college students, but we're just not on a college campus. We don't have that kind of structure and in some cases bureaucracy, and that's kind of nice to have the freedom to operate like that. But it's just a really interesting blend. We got a lot of people on our staff that do have strong ag backgrounds, but in the grand scheme of things, we're kind of a human development organization. We're not teaching, physical or technical skills around food and agriculture. That's what the experts do. That's what their campuses do. We're teaching young people about what it's like to transition into work and give them life skills. And we call them competencies. Some people call them soft skills. And so it's just a really fun place to be at, and a kind of, again, a hybrid of my background and working in higher education and other meaningful nonprofits. So yeah, fun journey, just kind of by accident, and through the network is how I ended up here.
Well, sometimes what happens by accident is the best things of our life.
That's right.
I got several examples in my life like that because, I didn't grow up thinking I was going to be president of Georgia Farm Bureau and then go on and be president of American Farm Bureau. I just thought I was going to farm all my
Hmm.
life. So you never know where life's going to take you, but those relationships you build is what carries you to the next place that God wants you
That's
to be,
right.
and that is such a valuable thing. So we just signed a memorandum of understanding with your organization, and that means so much to us because we are really making an extra effort to do outreach to people to bring them to our organization so that they can be part of our engaged volunteer members to advocate for agriculture in the future. And in doing that, we do a lot of leadership development. We work side by side with FFA and 4-H, and now with Manners, and now with the Agriculture Future of America. So tell us what that MOU means to you.
Well, likewise, it means a great deal to us. Anytime we can formalize partnerships, it's a great day, and we appreciate your all support. We've got some team members on your staff that are alumni of ours, been involved with our organization, so they can help us bring it to life. But we're only 26 years old, so we're relatively young as an organization, and so just selfishly on its surface, we don't like being a best kept secret. So, to formalize this relationship and have, your organization be able to share more of the experiences that we can provide is really valuable to us. So that we also know historically we've had a lot of people involved in our organization that were part of Collegiate Farm Bureau. And so there's just some natural connections that were already in place. And so now we're just figuring out how we can more formally serve your members, those involved with our organization. And again, selfishly, it's nice to have more people know about us and so that they can talk about the opportunities that we provide to their kids, students that they serve, et cetera, et cetera. And so, yeah, it'll be a great opportunity to just, figure out how we can continue to support young people together. That's the big thing.
So does AFA have a relationship with FFA and 4-H and Manners, and how does all that come together?
Well, for starters, I would say we don't track this, but probably 80+% of young people that we serve are probably alumni of 4-H and FFA. We're heavily involved in one of those organizations. We see it all the time in the applications that they put forward. We don't, again, formally track it, but I just know naturally we're kind of the next step in the educational continuum, if you will. And so we're actually working to formalize our partnerships with FFA and Manners right now because we do have a lot of overlap. With FFA, for instance, they obviously are promoting things like what we provide to their alumni as they go off into college and into the real world. We leverage relationships like FFA or Teach Ag from an education perspective because a lot of students that we're serving do have an interest in going into the classroom. And so we're trying to help build that bridge for a student to see, what that journey looks like. So that's how we leverage the relationship with FFA. With Manners, again, they're kind of all along the continuum from junior Manners in the grade schools all the way up through college. And so we probably have more overlap in how we support each other in the collegiate space. So for instance, we are always at each other's events. So they'll come to our National Leaders Conference. I'll be at their national meeting here in a couple of months. We have a lot of students that participate in both organizations, so we have some overlap in our student leadership. So we're always promoting how students can be involved in either of our organizations. And we did this a number of years ago, then COVID happened, but we're going to get back into it. We're going to work with their leadership to figure out how we do some joint meetings together, so our leadership and their leadership. We've got a national student advisory team, which is a 10-member team that plans and facilitates our national conference. They've got a similar leadership structure. They've got more professionals involved in their leadership as well, but looking for some opportunities where we can do some joint meetings and figure out how we more formally collaborate. But yeah, great friends. Obviously, we're all in the same boat of lifting young people up, and so try to support the organizations any way we can.
So how big is AFA? How many members can you claim that you have?
Well, that's the tricky part is we actually don't have a membership. That's what's complicated about our organization, and in a good way. So I'll give you a quick history and then I'll answer your question. So 26, 7 years ago, Russ, that I mentioned, my predecessor was working with a philanthropist who wanted to support young people to go to college through scholarships. But he said some of the most meaningful learning that you get is experience you get outside the classroom. So he wanted us to, again, encourage people to go to college and pursue a career in food and ag, continue to support them academically with scholarships, but then figure out how you provide some meaningful learning outside the classroom. And so that was the idea. He found some students to help us bring it to life. But one of the things they did when they first met, and we said, help us create this leadership experience that's going to happen outside the classroom. They met for a little bit and then they just said, no, we don't want to do that. We get leadership everywhere. 4-H, FFA, Boys State, whatever, all the organizations, let's just drop the ship. Teach us what it's like to be leaders. What's going to be expected of us as we transition into the workplace? So that was one of the first paradigm shifts that we went through in the early days. The other is related to your question, which was we thought we would go to college campuses and create a club or some formal structure to it. And the academic leaders would say, we've got enough other clubs and organizations. We don't need another one. What we need is the ones we have to be more effective leaders in the ones they're a part of. And so we don't have a formal structure, and students, it mirrors real life. They have to apply and get selected for most anything we offer in the collegiate space, and that's what real life is like. You can't just sign up and go. And again, we're providing practical, real world kind of skills and knowledge, combined with a heavy dose of networking with professionals and their peers from all over the country, and help them explore what career pathways look like in the industry. And that's the core of what we do. And so that's all the learning outside the classroom, but it's just not formalized in the form of membership and structure. So to that end, we do serve in a given year, we have a couple thousand touch points, but those aren't unique individuals. We provide, a student could participate in multiple programs as an example, but in a given year, we provide a couple of thousand experiences. But again, everything we do is competitive, so students have to apply, get selected, and then we're the convener.
It's kind of like on the job training, then.
Yeah, yeah, and again, we started off talking about the network. That's what's interesting is that's what students will tell you is some of the most valuable pieces that they get out of our experiences is the networking they get with, again, their peers from all over the country, as well as professionals, just to sit down and talk to them about how they got to where they are, what advice they would give them, et cetera, et cetera. And again, some of that is orchestrated. Some of that we formalize the way we create an experience. We might formalize the way that networking happens. Other times it's really informal. It's you're walking across the hotel and talking, and I've heard about students getting jobs from an elevator ride. All the things that happen when you think about the network. So anyway, students will always talk about the great networking that we provide. But again, we're addressing real skills, everything from how to manage your time and dining etiquette for freshmen, personal financial management, understanding communication strategies, body language, how to evaluate job offers, all the things that college students are curious about, and we're providing those types of exposures. And then again, there's a heavy dose of career exploration that happens as well. Just opening their eyes to jobs that are out there that they've never thought of. They've got a major, they kind of have an idea. We kind of open the doors to a glimpse of what else is out there.
Yeah, it's amazing when you take in applications for a job and the differences of how young people approach those jobs. I mean, some come in not prepared, some come in prepared, some come in late. You know, I'm sorry I'm late. I mean, it's really amazing how unaware they are of how they should conduct themselves to better put them in a better position to get a job. So
Yeah.
it sounds like very valuable training that you do in there.
Well, appreciate it. We enjoy it.
Well, I'm excited about our relationship. I know that what y'all are doing are very valuable to young people to learn how to approach the workplace. And speaking of workplace, I got on the job training going outside of my window right now because the young man that I hired to work on my porch decided to show up while we were in the middle of this podcast. So it's not your speakers and it's not at Mark's place. It's here on my farm here. And I think we can just put up with beating a little bit. So.
Sure.
Hopefully, he won't find any rotten wood behind there. That's what I'm worried about. What are your goals in the future soon for your organization? And is there things that people that are hearing what you say are interested in helping you? How would they connect with you?
Yeah, well, so appreciate the question. It kind of depends on who it is and how they could help. For starters, we were born out of this idea of, again, providing this real world training, I think is the way you put it, to college students as they get close to their career. So we always try to stay ahead of, kind of what the needs are. And so, if it were someone that has a keen interest in, you know, skill development and competency development in young people, and has kind of a forward-looking lens on it, it would be fun. We always just love to have a good idea of how to stay ahead of the curve and not be redundant of the exposure that college students are already getting, but give them something new and different. We always try to develop partnerships with our industry partners. And so, the reason we can create the experiences we do is because we're funded by donors, many of whom are, again, in corporations in this industry. So a corporate partner helps cover the experience for a student. So anybody that's interested in partnership with us could do it for a number of reasons. One, they just want to lift young people up and give them the kind of exposure that we give them. Two, they could selfishly want to make their organization better known to college students. Or three, they want to get engaged with us because we kind of pre-screen and convene some of the top college talent, and so they might want to hire them. And so if it's an industry person and a corporation in particular that is looking to hire interns and places entry-level college students into jobs, we're a good partner in that endeavor. And actually, it's easy to come up with some of the financial partnership. Actually, the harder part is getting people from the organizations to be engaged because we're all busy. But that's the stuff college students love. And so we actually work really hard to make sure with our partners they have a good team and a diverse team of people to show up at our experiences because college students don't always just want to talk to human resource professionals. Nothing against any HR people that might be listening here. They want to talk to people that are doing real jobs that they might see themselves in. And so that's where we spend a lot of our time is trying to get the volunteers with our company, our partner companies to engage with us. So those would be a couple of ways. Our website is agfuture.org. You can hover over the partners section of our website, and there's a link to learn more about what partnership looks like, and you can reach out to our team through that channel. But it's fun. Zippy, I know you love young people, and we talk about we build bridges. And it's obviously metaphorical, but our founder used to recite a poem called the Bridge Builder poem. And if you Googled it, you could find it. But it's basically about servant leadership. And so it's about doing something for somebody else, regardless of what you get out of it. And we can find no greater joy than when our partners just kind of have a euphoria because of the young people that we're convening. I hear all the time the future of this industry is bright because of the young people that they get to engage with. Certainly, we like to hear about great success stories of people getting placed in jobs and internships and getting really valuable experience and finding fulfilling jobs. All that's great. But some of the most rewarding things that we hear is from the students that give back. And so I mentioned our student advisory team. It's a team of 10. Think of it like FFA's national officers. The big exception is they're all full-time students. They all probably have summer internships, and they're meeting with us monthly to plan and ultimately convene our national conference for almost 1,000 of their peers. And that's what we hold in November in Kansas City every year. And they do it because they say they want to give back. And I tell you, that warms my heart better than anything, I can think of is just, we've instilled this notion of servant leadership to young people. And man, if they're doing it in college, I can't imagine what it's going to look like when they get into the workplace and they have a positive impact on all the people around them. So I say we're building a snowball because we only serve so many young people in a given year, but I'm pretty confident that snowball is gonna make a pretty big impact when these young people get into the workplace, and that's pretty fulfilling.
Well, they are making an impact, and a couple of them I think are at our organization, and that it bleeds through the selfless service that they have learned through your organization, and that's what we're all about. We're here to help farmers. We're here to serve them. We're here to advocate for them. And if we got young people out there or any person out there that wants leadership development training, we provide that for them. So Thank you so much for being our partner. We look forward to what the future brings in our new memorandum of understanding. And just to all the young people out there, agriculture is a tremendous industry, a great way of life, and there's a place for everyone if you really have a heart for it. So thank you. And Mark, do you have any last words?
No, that's actually probably the best way to leave it because again, we're in the human development space. There are just not enough young people pursuing any sort of formal training and education and pursuing uh, jobs in this industry at the level with which there needs to be. So we're already every year at a deficit in terms of human capital, if you look at it like that. So anything anybody listening can do to encourage young people to pursue a career in food and agriculture, whether they have a background in it or not, you'd be hard pressed to find anything more fulfilling. Maybe healthcare, but in terms of an industry, and we just need more and more young people to consider it. Yeah, they could get back into production, but that's what everybody generally thinks of when they hear agriculture. They think of farming, and it's obviously so much more than that. That it can be a pathway. But yeah, anything we can all do to encourage and support young people. I'll tell it to you like this. We hosted a dialogue on human capital. It was really kind of a supply and demand conversation over a decade ago. And I can remember a couple of interesting nuggets, but the most interesting one was one of the panelists was speaking about every kid in the late 70s, early 80s growing up wanted to become an astronaut. How do we make ag the new NASA? Or in today's terms, maybe it's the new Google or Tesla or whatever, something that, is really exciting and, to be so crude, sexy to young people. And if they just, could have their horizons broadened enough to see all the opportunity, some of it's really, really exciting. And couple it with that notion that, there's a lot of good that comes from this work. Really fulfilling. We'd all be better off for it. But yeah, so anything anybody can do to promote young people to pursue careers in this industry, we're all better off for it. So a long-winded way of reiterating what you said, Zippy, but I appreciate it.
Well, thank you to Mark Stewart, President CEO of Agriculture Future of America, AFA, and our new renewed partner at American Farm Bureau. We're here to help young people play their role in the future of agriculture. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for all the ones that are listening to us, and we'll see you next time. God bless you.
Appreciate it very much.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Farmside Chat. Please be sure to subscribe so that you never miss an episode. And while you're at it, take a minute to rate and review the podcast. This helps us continue to bring you farm fresh content that everyone can enjoy. Until next time, thank you and God bless you.